surprised by the start of the show. It's 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. I mean, it's not a new thing. It is a wild Wednesday on the Jeff Dubay Show. We're at Burger Mo's as we were wanting to be on a Wednesday. It's hard to believe it was a week ago we were here with Wally Shaver. I was thinking about it on the bus today, Jason. Does that seem like a week ago?
It does not.
No,
It's like yesterday.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy how fast the week went. But Scott is back from Hawaii. Tony is, he's a gumshoe. He's a you're not a gumshoe. What's a slang for a law enforcement officer?
Currently I'm not.
Well, where were you last week?
I'm just somebody's bitch.
Okay, well, where were you last week?
I'm trying to come up with a couple of words for.
I was, we were doing.
Oh, nobody cares.
Night stops.
We don't care about your problems.
We were doing night stops.
Night stops? Is that anything like, never mind.
It's like night moves, but different. It's when I catch you.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're back at full strength. Always were. That's debatable at Burger Mo's. It is a game night. The Bruins in town, so stop on by if you're looking for a pre-game haunt. It doesn't get any better here than I call it BMs because I'm in with.
Oh wow, you
BMs.
are really in now.
Yep. But the Wild, an interesting week. I guess let's take it in reverse because there was a game last night that's still fresh in everybody's minds. Let's start with that one. We get a nice sign early, a Bannock goal, but a bad second period.
And very good chemistry on that line between Finnish Baby Jesus, a.k.a. Granlund, Zach Parise, and Thomas Bannock. Before that goal, Bannock flipped one from the back wall, found Granlund up the middle there, which is something that FSN had highlighted from the previous game that Chicago gives up a lot coming down the middle there. I like that line together. I thought they played really well. I thought that they were dangerous for most of the game. The Wild dug a hole in the second period. You can't give up 3 goals. Not helping out Backstrom a lot. There was a lot of standing around. There was an error by my guy Christian Folin, who I love to give praise to, but he got his pocket picked by Jonathan Taves, which is an NHL life lesson there for a kid who's played less than 20 NHL games. And if you're going to watch Jonathan Taves have the puck behind the net, you're not going to do anything to put pressure on him, or if you're not going to play physical, a team like Chicago is going to kill you.
And he wasn't alone. I would say that in watching that second period, the defensive core in general just was awful, and it was like they had cement skates. Scandella was atrocious.
Yeah.
He had a shift where honestly I think he turned it over and couldn't get it out. I mean, it was horrible, and that led to at least one goal.
Was that his first game back?
The first game back after the
first game after
Yep,
2 games.
sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's not.
right.
I mean,
But
he wasn't gone long.
I was
term.
making an excuse. I'm just trying to remember that was his first game.
But it was, and it just was a horrible second period overall. And I would say I didn't realize until after the game that Backstrom had, was dealing with the illness.
He's
due
down
to
with the sickness.
Yep, down with the sickness because his other goalie got sick before before even the pregame skate. So he was kind of thrown into the mix. And played sick for 2/3 of the game.
You know what's so interesting about them giving up 3 goals in that second period is
It's happened before?
not only has it happened before, but a lot of people that are smart and produce content about the Minnesota Wild have blamed the ills of this team on bad goaltending, and I would contend that period right there, Backstrom didn't get a lot of help. If you're going to leave your goalie on an island like that, and you're going to do it against a team that has scores like Chicago does, how can you call that bad goaltending?
No, and this is a reoccurring theme on this show because, like I told you guys before the show, I had insomnia and I was reviewing some of our past shows, and we talked about what's the difference between a good team and a great team as far as, do you need a great goaltender like a Quick or a Tuukka Rask or somebody like that, or a Pekka Rinne that is going to steal games. If your team collapses in front of you, a mediocre goaltender will be exposed.
Yeah.
So when you have your team not showing up, the fact that your goaltender is mediocre will be exposed, and it will be very glaring. And that's what has led to a number of 3-goal periods, unanswered goals, for the Minnesota Wild. I mean, that's basically what it is. If we had a higher caliber goaltender, and I'm not saying that Kemper can't be that guy at some point, but he's not that guy now, maybe we'll see that. But for right now, if it starts circling the drain, I mean, you might as well call a timeout, or just hopefully you escape into the third without too much damage.
And the argument goes, the Wild are leading the league in limiting shots against. So they have the least shots against, and they're in the top 5, I believe, for shots per game. And
That's all about possession, isn't it, though?
And they're collapsing.
I mean, to me, it's those numbers are what they are because they're a team that possesses the puck, not because they're shut down defensively.
Sure, and I think that's what's so smart about a guy like Suter, and that's so smart about Brodin, who's come back and he's played so well. I mean, there's a lot of people that say that Brodin's playing like a top 5 NHL defenseman right now, and a lot of that has to do with possessing the puck, taking the puck, and limiting the opportunities for the other team by making good decisions and being able to carry and doing a lot of the stuff that really made him stand out. It's a lot of that patience with it, the little tiny move that you avoid a hit, that you avoid being separated from the puck, and then you get it out of the zone and get it going the other way.
Yeah, I mean, it would say possession is one thing, but for a defenseman, I watch too many times our defensemen watching people like Kane and Taves just dance with the puck and possess the thing for the better part of a minute and a half, and just going back and forth and just, I mean, Scandella's a big guy. Yeah. I mean, put your stick on the numbers and knock Taves off the puck. I mean, I'm not saying like board him, and put his face into the half wall, but I mean, you can be able to do something to get him off the puck instead of just watching him, dazzle you.
That was Scandella's worst game of the season, I think.
God awful.
Especially in the defensive zone, because in the defensive zone, previous to a lot of this activating and a lot of this offense and him kind of stepping up his role with Spurgeon out of the lineup and Brodin out of the lineup, Scandella was probably the most physical defender of the top 4. He was probably the most stout in the defensive zone. Spurgeon hits a lot of people, but he doesn't move a lot of bodies, and I think that's where Scandella's really had success, and that was his worst game. I mean, he got caught flat-footed, he got caught out of position, and that was very unlike Scandella.
Oh, you're right. I mean, it was his worst game, and he does have a different game about him than Spurgeon because they're different people, they're different body types. I mean,
they're polar opposites.
I mean, a 5'8", 167-pound Spurgeon can't throw bodies. I mean, what he can do is he can play the Jonas Brodin game, and he can basically have good puck possession, have good breakout, and be defensively sound while contributing offensively.
Get our boy Ballard to teach him a hip check.
But a person like Scandella with the size that he has, I mean, keep the elbows down, but I mean, he should be throwing bodies.
People don't realize though, Spurgeon has more hits than any other defenseman in the Wild lineup. I mean, like literally, he led the team in hits last year.
He might, but the point is, at 167 pounds, you're not gonna throw somebody.
The point of those hits is to wear a guy down as the game goes on.
You're basically rubbing somebody off the puck. You're causing separation. Somebody with the size that Spurgeon has and like a Falk, I mean, you can destroy somebody like we saw Sutter do last night in front of the net. That was awesome.
Well, that's the thing. There's no stat for moving somebody up from up front of the net. I mean, that's where he's going to struggle.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that if there's a move to be made, it'll be made for a guy that could possibly play top 4 minutes as a defender, but he's going to play in that bottom pair and he's going to anchor that bottom pair. Obviously, you hate to kick dirt on a guy that had something so scary as Keith Ballard happen, which that's unbelievable when the NHL doesn't do anything or say anything about a hit that leaves a guy on the ice convulsing. I mean, that's a scary moment.
Do we agree that was dirty or not? We haven't talked about it yet.
They gave a justification of the fact that he made a move to basically get out of the way, and because he did that, it wasn't a dirty hit.
Everything he did was it's an instinct, but it's everything you'd be taught not to do. I mean, he turned his face toward the boards and he was 3 feet away from the boards.
Yeah, I would think if you have an injury like that, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the officiating and player safety, it's all objective. I mean, you can take that and you're like, oh, the guy just broke his face. Maybe we should give the guy that did it a game or two, just to basically
or even a boarding.
But you have to take into context the circumstances of that play. The puck was nowhere near Keith Ballard, and this is a left winger coming to the right side of the ice late to destroy a guy. Because that's how that guy makes his living. I get it. That's how that guy makes his living.
When he's on his way to the bench, I mean, he was about to go off.
I'm saying that guy makes his living hitting people. That's what his job is. He's doing his job. So I would never criticize a guy for doing his job. But when you have a hit so useless It's not like he was separating Ballard from the puck. The puck wasn't in the area. I mean, he's finishing a check. That's what you teach guys to do. But then you have an injury like that. How do you not give that guy 2 games? You give him 2 games, you think he's going to appeal the suspension? He's not, because he hit a guy who was convulsing on the ice.
You don't punish, though, based on the injury. If what he did to cause
they
the injury
do
isn't
punish.
a penalty.
Yeah, but they do that.
I know, but
punish.
that's stupid.
And that's why it's so contradictory, and that's why it's so much politics. Because you hit a guy like Steve Stamkos, you're getting the suspension. You hit a guy like Keith Ballard, nobody cares. You hit a Minnesota player like Granlund, after the whistle, whenever you feel like it, on his birthday, on your birthday, they're never calling a penalty because they've decided that Granlund's soft and Minnesota's flyover territory.
Hey, before we go to break, I know this isn't timely anymore, but you guys were off last week, so I wanted to save it. What do you think of the Ballard hip check against Anaheim and the retaliation on what was a clean hit? I mean, I know there's some guys, if you take them down, even if it's clean, they're going to come after you for it. But I don't know. I get a little sick of the self-policing sometimes when it's a good clean hit, good clean hockey play.
But that just goes to show the players that feel entitled in this league, and basically you can't hit me. I'm Stamkos, I'm Crosby, I'm whoever. Like, I'm untouchable. Like, the NHL is going to protect me because my pretty face is what they're using for their marketing. So I know I'm protected, so I can even go around with a little bit of quasi bubble around me, knowing that nobody's going to floor me, or if they do, they're going to pay for it. So that's the unbalance of not only player safety in the NHL, but overall. I mean, starting from Bettman top down, I went on a little minor rant last night after the bad calls. I mean, I am of utmost certainty that Minnesota gets absolutely screwed when it comes to officiating, and nobody does a damn thing about it.
And being honest about it, that's what Minnesota lacks. I mean, I get it. So
what's the reason? Do we lack some high maintenance pretty boy player? I mean, because Parisi's gritty, so he's not going to get breaks. Is it because Yo's not strong enough against officials?
That's the funny thing is that Minnesota in general. I mean,
we need a matinee idol.
All arguments. I mean, we have the best hockey. I mean, market as far as fans against anyone. I mean, maybe you put like a Toronto up there and a Montreal, of course, but it's all about the money. I mean, I hope the NHL isn't turning into like a mini NFL, but I mean, you go out east, you go out west, there's more dollars, and so that's who they pay attention to. That's the only reason that they're looking at Las Vegas, because there's potential dollars there with all the billion-dollar casinos that are going to funnel money into the thing.
And it always filters back to that. I mean, being honest about it, the money is what dictates what's going on in the NHL, and that's why you have the owner of the Wild, Craig Leopold, saying that he doesn't want to do a stadium series. He wants the Winter Classic here. He believes he's earned an opportunity at the Winter Classic because not only has he spent money, but he's rebuilt a brand of hockey. And this is kind of like the center of American hockey on all levels, right?
I would say arguably we have from the Mighty Mites on up, we have the deepest hockey culture anywhere.
But if you talk to people, the East Coast and the Canadian teams are the ones that drive the revenue. They're the ones that drive the business of the NHL, and those are the teams that have the leverage. I mean, obviously Minnesota
and get the Winter Classics too, by the way.
Yes.
I mean, seriously. I mean, it's getting a little old.
And they're talking about recycling Boston as a venue for the Winter Classic again, instead of that. Maybe you don't even put it in Minnesota, right? So I'll get away from my bias, right? But maybe you put it in Colorado. Maybe you put it any other market that hasn't had a Winter Classic. If you create this product and you create this thing, why would you allow somebody else to get it again before you give the opportunity to anybody
It's ridiculous.
else?
I'm going to pull stats before the next Wild Wednesday, whenever it's going to be, if it's going to be a Wild Tuesday or whatever because of Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
But I will say that you're dead on. I mean, there's teams that have recycled at least twice. Some that maybe have hit a third, I don't know. But, I mean, when you start doing stadium series out west, and they're in the California teams, and Minnesota can't get any love on that level, I mean...
And Minnesota has 2 perfect places for it. I mean, we have 2 brand new stadiums. You pick the football or the baseball, whichever one you want. You have your own choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
But, I mean, the point being is, I mean, I don't know if Craig Leopold is too nice. I mean, if he's soft as far as, like, an owner goes. Obviously, Fletcher is soft-spoken. I think he's a brilliant Harvard mind, but I don't think he has a lot of fire behind him. Clearly, Yo does, but it's like if I went out and was ranted in the street, nobody gives, whatever. So the point is, I don't think they're going to these governor meetings and raising any sort of voice. And I'm sure that Bettman's probably like, take it easy, Craig. We'll get you in a minute. Maybe we'll throw you a stadium series here and there.
Well, when it comes to owners, GMs, and coaches, I mean, that's not the heavy hitting trio of all time. I mean, when you talk about seniority, clout, I mean, it's not like, it's not like Jacques Lemaire is walking into a room or I mean, whatever.
No, exactly right. And so when people say, oh, Yo's yelling from the bench, and you can see him. I mean, anybody who's any sort of lip reader, I mean, he's breaking out just about every cuss word in the book towards the officiating. But it's like pumping an empty well. Nothing's happening. If anything else, it probably is like reverse intuitive, because it's like they're probably just getting mad at you and they're going to call more penalties. Unless the owner or the GM picks up the phone and does something, it's going to continue to happen.
But the politics of hockey dictates that it's going to be the original 8. It's going to be Canadian teams. I mean, don't
get Jeff started on that.
But if you look, nice, and I love that he just savaged the Canadians.
Yeah, screw the Canadians.
So
on the night that they were remembering their guy.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
But you even look at the Minnesota Wild were put in the Northwest Division previously, right? And it was because they were an expansion franchise, fine, right? But they traveled more than any other team in the NHL. The only reason they made it out of the Northwest Division was because Detroit sought a move to the East Coast, to the Eastern Conference.
I mean, that was a long time coming. They made no secret that they belonged in the Eastern Conference.
But that's the only reason that Minnesota ended up back in the Old Norris, what is the Old Norris Division, playing against teams that are relevant to us geographically in St. Louis and Chicago, even Colorado being in the division too, and the Dallas Stars. That the only reason that happened is because Detroit wanted something. That had nothing to do with the Wild. Well, and the Wild wouldn't have gotten it done. They wouldn't have cared. They wouldn't have moved on it unless it was a money grab for Detroit.
And you know what? I'll say Detroit has, I think, earned a little bit of that. I'm going to give it to them. The fact that they have not missed a playoff in I don't know how long.
Right. Sure.
I mean they are a dynasty franchise, and so I think if they probably squeak, maybe somebody's going to listen.
But I'm not even contending that Detroit didn't earn that. What I'm saying is, in the business of hockey politics, the Wild has no ammo.
No.
They have no leverage.
They're the stepchild.
They don't register.
They're 1 or 2 steps above
they don't register.
of like the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, we're the Republican from Utah that the Florida doesn't recognize.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to put the pity party to bed. The woe is us stuff. I mean, the points are valid, but you guys are dragging me down.
It's kind of depressing.
I can't play the woe is me card anymore.
Well, we're getting it out of the way early so we can peak.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick break and back at Burger Mo's for a Wild Wednesday.
Hi, I'm Terry Daniel, and I've been a voice actor in Minneapolis for over 2 decades now. How often are you getting compliments on your voice? Now is the time to do something about it. If you're interested in getting into voiceovers, please contact me via my website at universalvoicetalent.com.
Okay, last year, 2013, I lived just down the road, Pleasant Avenue, just a few blocks here from Uptown Pond, which is right on the corner of Lake and Pleasant. And, there are a couple of times, you just try to get to that next payday, maybe a couple of bucks short. If you've got some items, jewelry, diamonds, electronics, I mean, you come down here and they give you a fair price for it, and then you come back a week later, 2 weeks later, whatever, you get it back at a real reasonable price.
So we're very competitive, we hope, on different angles, in different ends, and different articles, computers, electronics, TVs, jewelry. We buy, we give loans, and we also have emphasis on diamond jewelry too, that we also try and give credit for the best we can. We're specialists in that area also, so it's an all-round sort of combination.
Well, it's a great place. It's a nice, clean place with honest people, and I tell you what, it's got a real family feel to it. As a matter of fact, it's tied into the Strauss family, and I go way back with the late, great Jerry. So, I mean, these are people I know and people I trust. You can find them on Twitter, too, by the way. They're at Uptown Pond, and also on Facebook, Uptown Pond, and uptownpond.net. And we're back on a Wild Wednesday at Burger Mo's. It's game night. Wild and the Bruins. We'll get to that before we're done. But let's continue to take a look back at the week that was. And we'll take it in reverse because we want to talk about the Chicago game first. It was fresh on mind. Arizona, they win in the shootout, and what we hear is that it was an angry Finn that stirred the pot, that stirred the drink that night, and it wasn't Mikhail Granlund.
Well, that's no new story. I mean, anytime you can get Mikko upset, he plays a better brand of hockey. I mean, he plays a nice, edgy brand of hockey. I think I mentioned.
And he roofed the backhander in the shootout.
Yeah, in one of our earlier shows. I mean, I want somebody to just like go and just bang him on the skate laces and just really upset him. You know, just right away, just. Grr. And then, you know.
Would he make that noise?
Like say something. Yeah, say something about.
That was an aggressive noise.
No, is that not okay? No.
No, that's
Proud of
okay.
you.
I'm
proud of you for your.
Can you get more aggressive? Well, I have to be careful. I mean, we're censored here.
That's right.
That's
I
true.
remind me not to swear in front of the kiddos. But anyway, back to the point.
Tony already did it once.
I mean, he talks about he being Yo talks about his 4 captains. I mean, he's got 4 guys on this team that have worn letters, worn C's on other teams, and they those are the guys who pretty much stepped up and led the way in the comeback win Saturday night.
And I'm not going to be negative anymore, so I'm done with the negativity.
No, you can be negative.
All the negativity.
I was just being a smart.
Where's our sound bites, by the way? I want the negativity.
We're
Just
on
not
it.
sucks.
I've dropped the ball. I'll get
gonna
on it.
happen.
You were teasing me with the
No,
sound.
we're gonna wait till after the holidays to
All right,
bust
all
out
right.
to some new stuff.
So
The new
anyways,
year will be
so
a
as
whole
far
new
as
show.
as far as leadership goes, I will give it to when Koivu's upset, he is a driving force that plays with an edge to him. The difference is Breezy plays like that all the time. So, I mean, I'm not going to start the whole hashtag strip the C, clause, but I mean that's when our captain is effective, is when he has a little anger to him, and he does show up like that.
And I feel he gets angry like that 2 or 3 times a year. I mean, it's
When it
so
happens,
rare.
it's.
No,
I hope
he
you're
becomes
watching
a
the
hockey
game
player.
because
it's great.
Well, I mean, that's it. That's the Scandinavian way. That's how we are here in Minnesota.
That's
He's
true.
a passive-aggressive captain.
That's right. That's why they love him here.
Yeah, he's Minnesota nice. I mean, it is what it is.
I just wonder, like, why does he have to get mad for him to do that? I get confused by that narrative.
Is he like Bruce Banner?
I get confused by that narrative because I think he plays very, very strong in the defensive end. He has a very good possession game, but for us to get an exceptional effort out of him, somebody has to make him upset. I mean, that narrative drives me insane, especially when you have a guy.
Do you think you get bad efforts from him? I don't think you get bad efforts from him. I just think you get a different level of I don't want to. Like when he gets pissed, he gets a little more offensive minded. He gets a little more aggressive in the offensive zone. But I don't think he works any hard. I mean, he's not a guy who doesn't work.
I don't think he doesn't work, but I just wonder if your captain needs extra motivation to have an exceptional game. That's your leader. I mean, your captain should be exceptional all the time.
I want a T-shirt. I want a T-shirt with him as like normal Miko and like Bruce Banner Miko.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna make it and I'm gonna bring one for every one of you.
I like it. I like it
I like it a lot.
So still on the Saturday game. Just throw out quickly keys to the turnaround in that game, and how important was it? Because otherwise they're looking at a 0-3 week on the road.
That Arizona team isn't good. I was a little. I liked the Wild win. I wasn't very impressed by it, and I was looking to Chicago for an indicator of kind of where their heads are at, and I think we got an answer there. I guess I'm going to be the negative one. I liked that they won in a shootout. I liked that Backstrom made a save, but he made a save on a guy that I couldn't pick out of a lineup. I have no idea who the third shooter was for Arizona. Arizona is a team that has a very good coach that's not playing very well this year, and we beat them in overtime.
That was a must-win game, and I would say out of the ones that we're looking at, and if you go back to to the predictions that we made on the last Wild Wednesday a couple weeks ago, I think I said that we were going to lose to Montreal and then win the next 2. We ended up beating Montreal, losing to Anaheim, and then beating the Islanders. I mean, but it's I would say the Islanders game there was a little bit of risk there too. I mean, we have these games where we seem like we have the game in hand, not unlike that New York Ranger game, and something happens where we lose our intensity and we lose our kind of edge, and then the ice completely tilts the other way, as we saw last night, and it unravels. And it takes the third period to let us like kind of gather ourselves and like come back to play.
Do you realize that the team hasn't won back-to-back games in regulation in over a month?
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought we were done with the negativity.
No, that's just a fact. I mean, there's no bias in that report whatsoever. I mean, Buffalo 6-3, Dallas 2-1. Then they went on to beat Winnipeg in overtime, and Philadelphia 3-2. So
Well,
they had a 4-game win streak with the one overtime.
All right,
win.
I'm gonna paint a little bit of asterisk on this, because we have been dealing with a lot of injuries and the mumps and the sickness and all that stuff. So I mean, I'm gonna give it to them a little bit that they have had kind of a rotating amount of people out with sickness.
It's been disjointed.
And whether they're completely sick or whether they're kind of playing through it, we don't know. We have no idea. We had no idea how bad Cook's injury was when he was playing through that. And look he's been out for, going on 25 games or whatever it's going to be.
Well, and now you got 2 sick goalies.
Yeah, so now you have that, and it's just, I don't know if they need to get like some banana bags or some vitamin C or what they got to get going to get them back healthy again. But we have to kind of get our bearings again, because without a full core, it's tough to maintain the consistency, especially with our defense, and that really is exposing the lack of depth in the defense.
It's also a mixed bag. They're not playing bad. There's a handful of games this season where they've been terrible, and then a majority of the games they dominate the play. The other team has less shots on goal. They have probably less opportunities. They score, they either get back into it or they beat us. And then you're like, what happened here? Because the Wild dominated the play, they drove the possession, they have talent throughout their lineup, and then they lose. So then it's like, okay, well then maybe the goaltending's terrible. But maybe the goaltending's not terrible. Maybe this team loses focus. If you look at how bad their power play was in that first 20 so games, especially on the road, they could have easily put teams away, put games out of reach. They didn't do it. They allowed teams to get back in consistently. The positive in that Arizona game, Jonas Brodin played like 35 minutes, and he played really, really well. The 2 guys that are scoring goals right now are still scoring goals. You get an amazing, filthy top shelf backhand from Nino Niederreiter. You get effort from Jason Zucker every shift. Both of these guys can score goals. Both of these guys aren't getting top 6 minutes. Nino Niederreiter's still playing on the third line. You have Pominville on the second line turning the puck over a ton.
Well, we haven't talked about Pominville enough.
We're not going to talk about him today because that would be more negativity. But I'm just saying,
it has to be.
His game last night was
last night.
Awful.
And you know what? Don't talk about Pominville.
Great assist to tie the game in Arizona.
Lots of assists, but he's also had more opportunity than any other Wild player, and he has not scored more than 4 goals on the year.
In the third period, he had a great look right after a power play, just coming up the right circle, and he held it, and then just a gut shot.
That's like sports though. You have Charlie Coyle, who's the same thing. All these players have better ability than they're doing right now. We have a damn good squad. It's just they're all snake bit.
When does that become a coaching thing? If you have this much talent,
I don't know if it's a coaching thing or if it's a matter of you can run people through drills and pull them aside and talk to them, but unless you can have something happen to rebuild that confidence, you're going to have that voice in the back of your head. I can tell you as a former player, if I made a bad move on defense and I caused my team a goal, it sticks with you.
Oh, yeah.
If you do it a couple times in a row,
I got Penny Bauer back there to bail you out.
Yeah, Penny Bauer. You really get in a funk. It sits with you, and when you're sitting back there, you have your thoughts, replaying that play in your head, and all of a sudden you get the puck, you're second guessing yourself, and you're not playing with the level of confidence and ability that you have.
But I think it's on coaching, because some guys are Teflon. Like, why, with the how many turnovers that Jason Pominville's been had on the power play in general, like how many puck battles lost, there should be some accountability for him not to ever leave the top 6 this entire season. When you have guys that can step up, especially Niederreiter. Niederreiter's scoring goals. If you don't play Niederreiter in the last minutes of a game, if you don't play Niederreiter in overtime, what are you doing? You're costing your team.
You're right on that one.
And that's on Yo.
But on the other side of things, if you bury a top 6 guy in your bottom 6, how are you expecting him to pull out?
Sure.
How is he going to pull out of the funk when you now then downgrade him to the third line?
Is he a top 6 guy? Is he a top 6 guy, or is he a specialist guy?
Pominville?
Yes.
Pominville of last year, top 6 guy all day.
Well, yeah, he led the team in scoring.
Last year.
Right.
We're talking about this season.
year.
We're talking about
season.
You can't.
He's got 4 goals.
He's the same guy.
He's got 4 goals.
He disappears for games.
You can't do that. You can't do that on a. Do the litmus test and look at his career. Same thing with Vanek. They're going to come through it, and they're going to pull through this. If you bury him, I mean, you might go down the rabbit hole farther than you want to go.
Okay, let me ask you this: who are the guys scoring goals for the Wild right now?
But
Jason Zucker.
But they're still scoring goals on the third line.
Yeah, but they're getting less. They're scoring less goals and more in less opportunities.
But because Niederreiter's had a good 2 months, is he suddenly a better player than Jason Pominville? I don't think he is. I still want Pominville on the ice when it matters.
A better two-way player than
Niederreiter?
Niederreiter?
I'm talking about when you need a goal late, like you were just talking about.
I'm saying
he's still a better scorer.
Last season, I would think it's completely out of the question to take Jason Pominville out of the top 6 for Niederreiter. This season, I think it's unbelievable that it hasn't happened yet.
Well, and here's a question: is if you put Pominville down to the third line, what's worse, doing that or putting Niederreiter up before he's ready? What's worse? Because I think Niederreiter is ready.
Yes.
But can Pominville, as a veteran, can he handle going down, or is that worse to do that
And
to him?
Niederreiter's a better two-way player too, and your third line's got to check.
Correct.
But on your third line, you got a guy like Charlie Coyle who's not contributing anything but checking. So doesn't that insulate Pominville going to play with him? Isn't Pominville a pretty good possession guy? Don't you think that Pominville could help try to get Charlie Coyle going?
Look at what happened when we put Danny Heatley on the third line, though, or the fourth line. I mean, he went from bad to worse.
Danny Heatley was so ineffective because he just couldn't skate anymore.
I'm just saying. I mean, I don't know what kind of ego these guys have, but if they're frail and you're talking about Teflon, you stick somebody down there. I mean, that has been a former holder of the C. That might be tough to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, and Yo was just singing his praises after the Arizona game, excuse me.
Sure.
That Pominville's one of these guys that when he goes over the boards, everybody watches him, and he goes out there and leads by example. Blah blah. He's one of the 4 captains.
But he's also one of Yo's guys that he refuses to hold accountable. And in that group, Mikko Koivu's in there as well. Mikko Koivu was sick, he didn't get benched. Well, you didn't bench him, you didn't send a message, you didn't do anything. Like, what are we talking about? Like, the genius of Yo last year was that he took the heat for his guys, and they responded, which in turn got him a new contract, and he's their coach of this team, right? So then I have to eat a lot of my words because I've been very, savage. I've savaged Mike Yo on many occasions, so then I'm like, I buy in on Yo because his players are bought in on him. But if I was to list off guys, there's plenty of guys that deserve top 6 minutes right now based upon their play over Pominville. And it's Granlund, Parise, and it's Vanek on the top line. And then you have Jason Zucker with Koivu, right? I think Niederreiter belongs in that top 6 group. So then if you move Pominville out, maybe it's a slight to him. But so what? Then he can go to that third group and he can score goals like Nino's scoring on the third line because you can
they're line
score.
combinations, not rankings. I mean, it's not like this guy's he's moved up to he's our 4th best forward now. I mean,
yes.
There's a
Well,
lot that goes into it.
promotion.
There's slightly some tiers to it, unless you have people that are playing a specific role, like a Matt Cook or somebody like that. I mean, he knows what his role is. I mean, Matt Cook's not rolling on the first line. I mean, he has it. He has a style.
The guy on the NHL Network looks like me. I'm on NHL Network. Look at that guy. Now, that's going to mean nothing to anybody other than the people that sit at this table. But anyway, I digress.
Put a gray sweater on Jeff, and there he is, right in the box.
That guy's got breasts. I'm not that big. But anyway, continue. Oh, yeah, you just mentioned something that I've been meaning to bring up with you.
I think those are called moves, but.
Great. I mean, Vanek, said put me on the first line. I know things aren't going well, so instead of demote, move me up to the first line. Has he played well enough to warrant that?
I agree. I mean, I think he's. If you're talking about put up or shut up, I mean, I think he said, listen, I need to be with a better caliber player.
It might sound pissy to some, but he was right.
It might be, but I mean, if you're gonna have a sit down moment with your coach and you're gonna say, this is what I need, do this for me, and then you don't show up, I think he's shown up. I think he's played far better than he has all year with those 2 players. Now, is that him playing better? Or is that just a result of playing with 2 better players?
He's playing with a puck carrier. That Vanek needs to play with the guy that's going to carry the puck so that they can possess the puck long enough for him to get where he needs to be. I mean, obviously, everybody's had a chance to put eyes on Vanek. I mean, he's missing a step or 2 in his skating from maybe his highest level. Not to say that he was ever, blazing speed, but a lot of the reason he hasn't taken shots this year is because he doesn't have the windows of opportunity because of his skating.
And I mean, Granlund's given him that. I mean, he's got the magic hands to be the good disher. I mean, he's the one that's going to be the setup guy. He's going to be one. It is going to, even though he is a smaller player, as we saw in the playoffs last year, his possession ability is second, I guess, no one on the team. I mean, I think that he can hold the puck. Coyle has shown flashes of good puck possession in the past. His whole game is just lost. And
Coyle
he's like
handle with speed.
I mean, he's like out in the desert somewhere. I don't know if he just has to find himself or what, but he's far, far better than he is showing. And I mean, we continue to kind of have this reoccurring kind of like doldrum theme, but truth be told, the Wild has all the pieces to the puzzle. If they're healthy and they're playing to the ability that they can, they're a top third team in the league by far. I mean, it's just the fact that they're not utilizing the pieces.
And it's on Mike Yeo, man. And it's this politics and it's this BS. It's politics and BS that takes place, right? Koivu can never play on the third line because that'd be such a great slight to the captain Koivu. That's fine, right? So then you match him up with Zucker. And all of a sudden, you match him up with a guy that can carry the puck, that has speed, and all of a sudden, Koivu's not a defensive or offensive liability. And his lack of skating is less of an issue, right? So then Vanek asks to play with Granlund, with Parise, two guys that are very complimentary to him, and all of a sudden he's shooting and he's scoring goals and he's playing better, right? It's politics and it's BS, and it's on Mike Yeo to identify and address this stuff. Why is the power play so bad? Well, a lot of the reason the power play is so bad is that nobody goes in front of the net in the dirty areas and creates havoc, is able to use their body to deflect, to make offense in the dirty areas. But a lot of the reason the power play's been bad too, Jason Pominville playing the point, being a choke point.
Well, we've talked about this. I mean, he has no place there. You should put a Scandella and a Spurge up there.
And it's never-ending lost puck battles and turnovers and puck bobbles. And I just, if we're gonna have a team this year of this roster without a major move, then you have to make the pieces fit, and they don't fit right now.
So that's so I'm gonna put you on the spot. So you're Mike Yeo. You have no changes aside from maybe the fringe guys that we've been calling up. You don't get to call up Steve Vayu. I know you want to, but you can't.
Yeah.
I'm not letting you.
Yes.
But you do have Bickle. I'm going to give you Bickle because he is in the mix.
Yes.
So
in the
everybody's healthy. You have a clean whiteboard. Give me your lines.
So obviously the top six that I've mentioned, which would be Vanek, Granlund, and Parise on the top line. Then you have Zucker and Koivu together, who have been so good. You put Nino in there. You give him as many minutes as he can play. Let him score goals. And then that third line, you have Pominville with Charlie Coyle, and you have Eric Howla there. Eventually, if Eric Howla can get his mind right, I think that's a strong line because you have Coyle, who's the big guy in that line. You have Pominville, who's the veteran, and he's a shooter, and he can do everything. And you have Howla, who can play center, but you can have Coyle play some center there too.
Who you have on the pivot?
On the pivot, I would probably play Howla there, but I would use Coyle in situations where you have a bigger guy going against him. So you have some flexibility there. On the bottom line, you have two centers in Ryan Carter and Kyle Brodziak with Matt Cook. I think that's your optimal lineup. I think that is a way for you not to get exposed.
Where's Fontaine?
And Fontaine's probably in the press box or in the rotation, being honest. Fontaine definitely doesn't belong in the top 9. I mean, he was pretty brutal last night. I mean, he was either invisible or turning over the puck. Obviously, he took an elbow to the head. Previous to that, though, he dumped some lazy backhand. They get taken out of the zone. Then he takes an elbow to the head. Then they score a goal.
I put Fontaine in over Brodziak any day of the week, and if my just savaging of Brodziak will make him play better again like last time, so be it.
Worked before. Hey, I don't mean to speak blasphemy, but are we getting to a point where we can almost say the Sutter's having a down year? I mean, he's in and out.
Sutter or Suter?
Suter. Yes, I'm sorry, Suter.
Two guys.
Suter. My bad. Yeah, no, I got Sutter's on the brain.
I don't think so.
I see him giving up more goals, just on lackadaisical plays, and not making the impact offensively. And I gotta put, anytime you're struggling on the power play, the guy who runs it's got to take some heat.
But on the flip side of that, I will say if you watch him do the breakout and possess the puck on the breakout, I mean, there's nobody better. I mean, the fact that you know the game like I do. I mean, you can keep the puck on your stick and just dance through people and do a breakout. Players can't do that. And
right.
He brings that skill set that others don't. he's not going to. I mean, he's not a dazzle player. I mean, he's not a PK Subban. I mean, he's not somebody that you're gonna have.
I gotta believe he's given up more 5-on-5 goals this year than he has in the past.
He's still. I think he's. Last I heard, as far as the hockey writers, I think that basically he's in the top mix for the Norris again.
So here, the tough thing is, I agree with both of you, and the reason I agree with both of you is I think that's. So Suter was like number 2 star in the NHL or whatever, had like 6 assists in 5 games, right?
Yep.
But he has been overexposed on the defensive end, and I think that a lot of that comes from guys being out of the lineup, both Spurgeon and Brodin, but then also that bottom pair has been pretty bad from day one this season. The best probably combination that we saw was Folin and Dumba, and those guys have a combined like 10, 15, 20 games in the NHL, and they didn't play together very long, and they did have struggles, but mostly they were isolated because they were playing Suter so many minutes. I think what you were seeing is when Suter has letdowns, which he has had this year many times. That New York Rangers game, he had 2 letdowns, and he left Darcy on an island, and Darcy takes the credit for it, although Darcy called out his defense kind of when he said, I need more help, and I think he was talking about being left on an island. When Suter's playing less minutes, you get better minutes out of Suter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't do that if you have somebody in your top 4 out of the mix, whether that be a Brodin with sickness or injury, whether that be a Spurgeon, with injury or sickness now that he has, with Scandella with I think he had illness, now he had suspension. I mean, you have that, and it's a trickle-down effect that he does have to play more minutes, and he's never going to look gassed. But he is going to. But his play will be lower.
But I would argue that that's not a symptom of having a guy out of your top 4. That's a symptom of having Keith Ballard and Prosser as your bottom 3 and trying to limit their exposure.
Well, let me ask you guys this. In a year where the power play has gotten so much scrutiny because of how bad it's been, I mean, they've taken apart every element of it. How come he's not getting more criticism? I mean, he runs it.
Who, Suter?
Yes.
Because he does so much good. I mean,
so much good, they're not scoring.
But Suter does so much good the rest of the game.
I'm talking about how he does on the power play.
Sure. And
I don't think you can leave it to just him. I think what Tony brought up earlier is the fact that if you have Pominville on your other defensive
brutal.
I mean, you can't run the point by yourself. You can't. And if your other point man is turning the puck over and letting dribblers go through and not moving your feet and whatever, I mean, I would think if you put somebody like a Spurgeon in there, it's just going to make Suter better. I mean, he's going to be allowed to do his thing and not be completely in the back of his mind going, what am I going to have to do if Palmer lets one through again?
Or it'll put the spotlight on him. Being honest about it, I think Pominville on the other side of Suter has drawn all of my attention and all of my ire with regard to how bad the power play is.
That's a good word. Good word, ire.
And so if
they named a country after it.
So if you don't have Pominville playing that point where he gets exposed so much, maybe I would be more critical of Suter. Maybe other people would too.
Let me ask you this: if you are trying to get some offense on the power play, I mean, I know you can get it from Spurgeon, but if you wanted to go with 4 forwards, who could you replace Pominville with?
Nino?
Yes. Zucker, please.
I mean, does Nino have a shot from the point? Can he get it through?
I think Nino's willing to shoot from anywhere. That's why we love him so much.
Well, that's the thing about it. Think about from the point. You don't need a howitzer from the point. I mean,
but you got to feather it through.
But look at Scandy. Scandy puts more goals through on that wrist shot than he does on a
slapper. Does that too.
I mean, I agree.
So if you and I can tell you
this. So
a
willingness to shoot is not enough, is what I'm saying.
So Nino,
there's something to it.
But Nino has a nasty little snap wrister. I mean, he has a dirty shot. You don't have to
15 to 20 feet like picking a corner. Now I'm talking about from the point getting it through traffic to somebody's stick.
Sure. Or even put Spurgeon there, because Spurgeon's competent with the puck. Spurgeon is able to handle the puck. Spurgeon doesn't.
And he has a damn good shot for his size.
Spurgeon doesn't have the
turnovers. I've never met anybody such a Spurgeon pimp.
I also
because you like the little guys on the blue line.
I'll tell you what, I had a good shot from the point, and I'm a little guy, so take that.
Now it all makes sense.
You're pimping Peter Pan. It's amazing.
Hey, before we hit the break, we want to mention the things going on right now with the Alive Social Network. As a matter of fact, after this show later tonight at Shamrocks, they got the music showcase, and I will be there to hang out with Sean Bernard and company, the Last Ride Band. after this show here at Burger Mo's, we got a pubcast.
Yep, Molly and Burke will be coming in. We're going to do the best of 2014. So we're going to talk about all the top movies, music, all that stuff.
Okay. I hope we win Best Podcast.
For sure, already done.
What else we got? We got Rusty Gatenby with his movie reviews. He's going out to L.A. He's got a ton of really cool stuff going on.
Suhan's doing a show right now from the local.
Yep, Suhan's everywhere. And we're adding things all the time.
I will mention the Friday night karaoke at
live band.
Shamrocks is now switched to Saturday. I'm sorry, Ed O'Gara's is switched to Saturday.
Permanently?
This week, so.
Oh, just this week?
Just this week.
Okay.
There's a prior engagement apparently, but I want to get that out there.
All right, well, let's take a final break and come back and wrap it up. It's a Wild Wednesday. You know, folks who've listened to the show, they know that I lived in the Uptown area here, right down Pleasant Avenue, as a matter of fact, and on the corner of Pleasant Lake is where Uptown Pawn is. And I have been here numerous times, had numerous business dealings with them. It's just a nice place with good, honest people. Bob Jacobson, the owner, you run the place. You've always been good to me.
Thanks, Jeff. We try. That's part of our business. We're here to help people, and so everybody walks in the door. We hope we can help.
Well, what I've always appreciated is when people are nice to people who are the low man on the totem pole. Like when I was a bat boy, I liked the star guys who were nice to the bat boy.
Right.
And I mean, I came in here and you guys didn't know who I was. You didn't know I had a radio show, and you treated me great. I mean, just a guy off the street.
Listen, that's the idea with I think a smaller family type business. Somebody walks in the door. We don't want to let them see everybody gets treated the same way, and we hope that's the case. And we don't want to see them leave without. We try our very best.
It's really easy. It's easy. It's low pressure. Good, honest people. Right on the corner of Lake Street and Pleasant Avenue. You guys got to check out Uptown Pawn. And I mentioned it yesterday too. Folks who like what we're doing, like the show, they want the show to stick around. The best way to do that is to go out and throw some business at our advertisers. Uptown Pawn, great people. Burger Mo's, Devil's Advocate. Uptown Pawn. We're going to be entering into a little arrangement, I believe, with the NCHC for their Final Five. So get out to the Target Center, see some good college hockey in March. With the Final Five there. As a matter of fact, that's probably a more lively. I'm guessing it's going to be a more lively scene than the Big Ten hockey tournament. I mean, the Big Ten hockey tournament was a little dead here last year, and now it's going to Joe Louis Arena, where it's going to be just a frickin' morgue. I mean, it's just not. It's not. They don't support college hockey that well in that town. And not to mention the fact that Michigan and Michigan State just aren't that good anymore. Anyway, it's bizarre to me that the only team other than Minnesota from the Big Ten ranked right now is Penn State.
Yeah,
it's shocking.
We talked about that too, and I think a lot of this class this year is in Canadian juniors, especially like the sweepstakes kids. Mm-hmm. Besides the kid that's at BU, which is I think Eichel, they're all in Canadian juniors or overseas. This is a very down class for. Well,
look at the Gophers. The Gophers' best freshman forward is from Sweden.
Yeah, Leon Bristed.
Yep.
Bristed.
Yep, that is
right?
correct. That is correct.
And that kid is fun to watch, but he's just moments. So you wonder. I don't think he gets. Maybe he's like a third or a fourth rounder, like a middle round guy.
He's not the kind of guy who's going to step in and make an impact as a freshman. He had never set foot on American soil until basically school started. So, I mean, it wasn't like Howla, who came over and acclimated himself for a few years and was right at home. So a little bit of a different situation there. But, guys, let's take a look ahead. Tonight you got Boston, NBC Sports Network. We're big time tonight. And then...
It's the rival game tonight, by the way. I didn't realize that we were such rivals with the Boston Bruins.
Don't tell that to Glenn Sonmore.
The Manny Fernandez rivalry.
No, the Glenn Sonmore rivalry.
Oh, Glenn Sonmore.
They're with the North Stars. Remember the brawl, and then taking them down in the playoffs.
Sure. But that was North Stars. That's not wild.
It's still us. Come on, man. So anyway, we got tonight. We got Saturday home against Nashville. Tuesday home against Philly. And then a week from Saturday home for Winnipeg. It's 10 days, 4 games, all at home. And you got a little back-to-backer with the day off in between when you from Winnipeg here to Winnipeg there to start a roadie.
The last time we pulled the Bruins card, and we responded after that terrible just flat out collapse in New York, and I think tonight versus the Bruins, we need to see a tougher team. We need to see a team that's more focused, especially on not collapsing, which has become like a reoccurring theme. This Bruins team is a team that can score. They have a guy, Milan Lucic, who's going to use his size against our finesse defenseman in front of the netminder.
Hey, is Lurch back? Is Chara back?
No, Chara's not back in the lineup yet, I don't think.
He does look like Lurch.
Yeah.
He's just a big, ugly guy.
But seriously, what do you do when you're bearing down on a 6'9" defenseman who his wingspan goes from board to board?
I'd hit him in the skates, on the skate laces with my stick.
You know what? I would undercut him. I always have.
You'd go Keith Ballard style and just up him?
You undercut him. Yes.
It's a long fall for him too. You want to do that.
You know, I would love to learn the Keith Ballard hip check and then just fight a guy afterwards. Because if the guy came to fight me, I'd know I did a good job. I would know that I had earned my keep.
It's nothing like instant feedback.
I don't know how you would even fight him. Like he'd be like hitting the top of your head. And
I know.
You'd be like hitting him in the kidneys, and he could do nothing about it. I think you'd win.
Is
you
he
might
6'9"?
win.
Is he 6'9" without skates?
I think he's 6'9" without skates.
So he's 7 feet tall.
He's just
on the ice.
unbelievable. Yeah.
That's
he's
bizarre.
a monster.
That's bizarre. He could dunk.
How does he even have a stick? Because you probably can't even get a stick that's regulation.
Probably extended.
It's got to be.
No,
Really
there's regulation
you
stick
can't go
size.
past certain
Nope.
weight. I didn't know that.
Well,
Because I
really?
remember, Burnsy always had the largest stick possible, and people
If
would
you're
get
6'9", you should be able to have a longer stick.
Nope.
Yeah, it should be proportionate.
You would think.
Close to your nose or your chin, like this.
Yeah, you get your dad to cut it off with the saw. You know.
Yeah.
And that, if you're on skates versus off skates, it's nose or chin. Nose or chin.
Right.
Nice.
For those of you that want the educational portion of the show,
Nose to chin is what you're supposed to remember.
if you're on your bare feet, it's your nose. If you're on your skates, it's your chin.
Last I saw, the Wild were holding down the 10th spot. How concerned are we about this?
We should be very concerned.
Here's a couple pieces about our
that's
central.
early, but-
I'll give it this. The Predators finally have kind of fallen back into place behind the Blackhawks and the Blues, which we all were waiting for it to happen, for them to fall off of that top spot. So they fell into number 3. We do have the Jets ahead of us. They have 3 games at hand as of right now, and they got 5 points ahead of us though still. So win all 3 games and you've taken by 1 point. But behind us we have the Stars and the Avalanche. It's not looking good for the squad, but we do have games in hand on just about everybody. So we just need to start turning it around and doing it quick.
The Wild's they've given away a ton of games this year. And I think, being in 10th place, maybe that doesn't matter, but they should not be in 10th place. They should have won many games this year. They've given away a lot of games. And I don't know if they believe that they're destined to be a playoff team, but if this team does not fix their power play and fix their giving away of the lead and letting teams back in, they could mess around, miss the playoffs, and then we could see major changes happen.
Well, you know what else they've got is a mental block against the elite. And Precy was talking about it this week, going into the Chicago game, as a matter of fact. It's time to start beating L.A., Anaheim, San Jose, Chicago, because we don't. We never do.
And this Bruins team tonight's coming in. They're 2-5-3 in their last 10 games. They're 1-4-1 against the Western Conference.
And the Wild has their number too.
And this is in your house.
Yep, you gotta win.
This is in your house. If they don't come out pissed off after what happened last night, if they don't come out feeling as if they don't get the benefit of the doubt that they got disrespected last night, if they don't come out here and have a statement game, then I think all the red flags that should be very clear to them as a group are completely raised. Because this is a must-win. This is a must-win game. You need to get yourself. You need to win. You need to defend your home ice, and you need to beat teams that are possibly.
Well, and here's the
playoff
thing:
teams.
you got to start stringing together wins. You can't piecemeal it. You can't win, lose, win. Look at the last.
Realistically speaking, though, if you look at the strings we have coming up, we have the Bruins.
You got 4 at home right here.
We got the Bruins. We have Nashville. We have the Flyers, and then we have back-to-back against the Jets.
What do you mean?
We could win all of those.
Okay.
Realistically speaking, we could win and should win all of those games.
Well, here we go. 5 games, 4 of them at home, the 5th on the road at Winnipeg. Give me points. What do they do?
You better win tonight, so I'll call it a win tonight. I think you lose against Nashville. I think Pekka Rinne will beat us.
You got to start stringing something together. You can't
I
win.
know.
You can't win, lose. You can't do it.
I hope you beat the Jets twice. I could see them giving away a game, man. This team, I love this team, and nobody's a bigger fan, cheerleader of this team, but they have not proven that they have the right pieces together. I talked about what lineup I would put together. It takes Mike Yeo to intervene, and if Pominville's going to give away chances, if he's going to turn over the puck, and you don't put him in outside of the top 6, you don't empower Zucker and Nino, what do you think is going to happen? We're going to keep losing games, man.
Well, I think if we can pull together, we easily could take 4 or 5 out of this. we have the teams that we're playing against. We have their number, and we've shown it that we can beat these teams. We've historically done very well against Nashville. We've done very well against Winnipeg. The Flyers are really not doing good this year, and we've done well against the Bruins. So, I mean, realistically, I don't think 4 or 5 is any sort of like bold prediction.
Yeah, but what if it doesn't happen?
No,
I mean,
you're saying we take 1 of 4?
Yeah. What if we go belly up between now and New Year's?
0?
Well, not necessarily 0.
But like 1 or 2 wins only.
What if we don't make hay when the sun shines?
Against teams that are in the middle to bottom of the pack?
Yes. How much trouble are we in?
I don't know if anything's a have. I would say that they're not going to fire. They're not firing Yo. First of all,
no, I don't mean that.
Number 2, if you want to play, Barstool general manager, you can make some sort of trade happen.
I'm not talking about juggling anything. I'm talking about being 10th place when 8 make the playoffs, and you got a soft part of your schedule. What happens if you just keep wasting opportunity?
Jeff, I can answer it for you. One or 2 wins would be par for the course for how this team has performed. And what are they going to do? They're going to talk about how close they were. They're going to talk about we're 1 this away from the power play. No, you're not, man. No, you're not. I mean, they need to step up. You got to put on your big boy pants. If you're this bad on the power play and nobody's doing anything, firing Andrew Brunette's not going to fix it. But nobody's fixing it.
I don't know if that could hurt.
But he's a legend.
No,
you still got to keep him in the. You got to keep him in the building. You can't fire him.
You sound like Yo now with his veterans.
I honestly, you could pull this entire bar, and I bet half of them would know the fact that Andrew Brunette runs the power play. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Basically, he's like, he's a Minnesota, immortality.
You know what an assistant coach is? You want a good locker room guy. Seriously. Assistant coaches aren't making or breaking a team. They're not. Come on.
As a guy that's
he's a locker room guy. The players like him. They respect him.
Is he supposed to be a specialist?
Yeah, but it's still hard for me to find. I can't put it on him.
Can you be a specialist just because you stood in front of the net and were good as far as getting the dirty goals? Does that basically make you a power play specialist?
That's what I'm saying. They categorize him as that.
But here's what I'm saying.
Because of that.
Jason, you're completely right.
Anybody who plays in the league for 10 years knows how to do a power play.
But anybody. It's not on me. It's not on me. It's on them. They created the narrative. We brought down Bruno from the press box to the bench because he's so good at this. And then you have the worst power play ever, and it doesn't fix.
Well, the problem with having a locker room guy, though, too, is they're not going to be the ones that are going to light people up for their horrible power play. If you're I
don't know. Bruno would do that as a player. He wore an A. I think he would do that as a player. Not in a classless way, but I think he'd light a fire under somebody when they needed it.
I don't think I've ever seen Bruno get. Have you seen him really?
No, he's not a rah-rah kind of guy, but I guarantee, he's the kind of guy who you're sitting next to him on the bench. You're playing hard.
He's a guy that's been there.
Is he going to yell? Is he going to yell and basically be like, "What are you guys doing?"
Well, not everybody has to yell to get a point.
Sure. You don't.
I do. So shut up over there.
But whatever they're doing isn't working. So why don't you try something new? Maybe yell a little bit. Maybe
do something different and actually put it into action because they're not doing anything different. Everything's on the perimeter. There's nobody in the front of the net. You're missing shots. You're giving away opportunities. You're not getting the puck into the zone while you have the power play. It's a reoccurring theme, and it's something that we bitch that we female dog about, right?
Well, I think that's an okay word to say.
Anybody, like I said, anybody's been in the NHL for 8 to 10 years knows how to run a power play. Guys who played high school hockey know how to run a power play. They all look fairly similar.
The four of us could put a whiteboard on the damn wall right now and write plays.
It's not X's and O's. It's just not. It just comes down to having the right people in the right spots and executing. I know those are cliches, but it's not X's and O's.
When you watch other teams on the power play, it just looks significantly different because
they're moving their feet.
I think
that's it. They're moving their feet. That's it.
Well, and let's not kid ourselves too. Teams get on rolls. You get confident. You go the other way, like the Wild. Once it got to the point where they were 0 for 20, whatever, it got in their heads.
Oh, absolutely.
And then they start pressing.
I'm not even saying goals. I'm not even talking about goals. When the Wild has a power play, it doesn't look like an advantage. It looks like a disadvantage. That's why the joke that the Wild should decline the power play.
They had a pretty good run.
So fitting because they have more intensity on the penalty kill.
They had a good run on the road though, didn't they? They had a couple of power play goals.
They had a good run.
They had a couple of power play goals against Arizona, including the game tire late in the third. So
I apologize for being so negative. I was a cloud of negativity.
Dude, you're a Marine. We're just glad you don't kill us.
Yeah.
That's the best thing.
It's a good way to go out.
Thanks to Burger Mo's. Coming up for folks who are listening live, it's a pubcast with this guy and that gal. You know who they are.
He's Jason McGovern right
Thanks
here.
a lot.